When I was younger, I was literally the most impatient person ever for everything, and I kind of still am. It was so bad, my grandmother had gotten me a t shirt that had about 13 of my favorite road trip questions. Are we there yet? And golly, my poor Pa, bless his heart, he had me attached to his hip almost every weekend working cows, constantly asking, when can I ride my horse? Pa, when can I ride my horse? Can I ride my horse now? And when he'd finally had enough, he'd look at me and say, Lindsey, go sit over there, be patient, you are going to ride your horse. Or I would get in my way and ride. On the count of three, we are going to think of the most impatient person we know. 1, 2, 3. I can imagine a lot of us thought of our parents, friends, or our advisors. But I hate to break it to you, unless you're Gandhi, you are the most impatient person you know. Growing up is hard for everyone, right? We all can't wait to grow up, and when things get tough, we can't wait for it to magically get better. We always hear these tragic stories about this person that was bullied and that made them into this amazing person. But did it really? Was it really going through the same problems that everyone else goes through that made you an amazing person? Or was it how you handled it? We all know teenagers are mean, and we could all say at some point in our lives we have treated someone badly. Middle school was a hot mess for me. I switched from a public school to a little private school in my hometown, and boy, did they think I was weird. But I had the same feelings about them because after school they went on shopping sprees and their everyday clothes were really fancy. When I got off of school, I was either jumping in a crawfish boat with my dad or in the barn with my cows. And my everyday clothes were covered in holes and stains. I soon realized that me and these people came from very different worlds. Although I did think their lifestyle was kind of odd, but I accepted it. And for some reason, they just couldn't accept mine. One day, we had to present a paper to our class about our family's lives and traditions. And of course, I bragged all about my family's involvement with cattle, rice, and crawfish. And man, did I think I had the coolest family ever. Well, that was shut down real fast because one of the girls raised her hand and said, "So y'all are like peasants?" I was completely embarrassed. I checked out that day and weeks after that because I was sick. But really, I just couldn't take being nothing more than a peasant girl. Until on one of my sick days off, I had an epiphany. I was watching my favorite movie ever, Straight Talk, that starred one of my favorite women ever, Dolly Parton. Anyway, she said something that really hit home for me. Look, honey, sometimes you gotta honk your own horn because if you don't, nobody will know you're coming. So, as you can imagine, I went to school the next morning hollering as loud as can be, honk, honk, honk. Okay, just kidding. But that is what it felt like. Y'all, I remember this like it was yesterday. A little girl in my class looks at me and says, "Did you finish cleaning up all the cow poop this morning? Because you sure do smell like it." As she turned around laughing with her friends, I tapped her on the shoulder, and before I could even think, these words came out. "I love the way I smell. We helped my dad in the crawfish pond so yours could buy them after one of your shopping sprees. We help work our cows so you can enjoy your fancy steak dinners, and I show livestock because my cows are a lot better to look at than you." As you can imagine, I got in a lot of trouble. And did I take it a little too far? Maybe. But it was worth it. Because after that day, those girls didn't stop. They continued to tease and pick on me for the next few years. But for some reason, I didn't even notice them after that day. I realized if this would have been my mindset from the beginning, that time of my life would have been completely different. After that, I was a much better student. I made friends who came from the same background as me, and in general, I was just so much happier. That's when I realized I was riding my horse. I could have been this whole time. My pa was right. If I would have just sat down and stayed patient, I would have rode my horse a long time ago. So why are we so impatient? Is it because of our very own personality traits? Or is it because society has made us this way? Y'all know what I think? I think society has pushed back our achievements so many times when we were just so close to making them. For example, have you ever been to the dollar store somewhere and there is no cashier at the register? You get really frustrated and you grab that squeaky toy that says squeak for service and you squeak it so many times that you find your own self obnoxious. And why do we do that? Because that cashier was stopping us from getting out of that store. The same reason I honked my horn in middle school, because that bully was stopping me from being the fun country bumpkin that I love. We convince ourselves that that cashier, bully, the speed limit, or whatever it is, are stopping us from achieving our goals. This makes us so impatient that we actually stop ourselves from achieving our goals. If we would just sit down and wait, that cashier might help us faster. That bully might just become invisible, and that speed limit could give us a very enjoyable car ride with one of our friends. So the next time you start to get impatient, take my Paul's advice and go sit over there and be patient, because you will ride your horse.